Hello, hello everyone. Welcome to Chaos and Order, art by Susan Holt. That is me. Today is May 27th, 2026, and going live right here in my Facebook group. For those of you who are in my group and you are watching live, thank you so much. For those of you who are watching on replay, go ahead and put hashtag replay down in the comments so I know you stopped by. For those of you watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much. You can hear my dog coming in. Yeah? There she is in the corner. Okay. She's a good girl. Now I've knocked everything around just to show you my dog. Okay, let's see. Everything's back up and running. So, everybody, please send me all the likes, all the little hearts, put comments and questions down in the comment section, please. And let's get started today. I'm coming to you live early because we have dinner plans with friends from out of town tonight. So we are excited about that. I've been working on stuff for a class I'm taking over at the Arizona Artists Guild, but that's not what I'm working on today for you live here. I decided to work on Canvas panel, and this is what I'm doing. So that's as far as I got yesterday. So let me point this down at the table. Make sure you can see what the heck I'm doing down there. Okay, there we go. All right, everything's set back up a little bit. So yeah, this is just a little painting that I have been starting to create. I've been doing a lot of my small geometric pieces, and I'm making them a little bit bigger. Getting my tech set up. Okay, so I'm making them a little bit bigger than I have done them before. Usually I do these on little 4x6s, so they're small, but I'm kind of going bigger at the moment. Well, bigger for me. This is 9x12, I think. I think it's 9x12. Yeah, it's 9x12. I have my little measuring ruler tape down on my desk so I can look pretty quickly at what I need. Now I'm going to change out to my bigger glasses, my higher powered glasses, because I will be 55 on Tuesday, so I have a week left where I'm 54. So, and I am using, I don't want to say these are craft paints because they're not, because I've actually mixed better paints in with them. So all of my paints are custom at this point, and they're not really what they say they are on the bottles. I like to reuse the bottles so I keep them out of the landfills. So yeah, anything in my studio could be what it's labeled as, or maybe not. Always makes it fun. So I have the background is gessoed with white gesso, and I have black outlines with a paint pen from it. Now I'm just going to fill in my little design that I've created. I really like these geometrics. This is the first one that I've made that is actually the same on both sides. Usually I'll have kind of a center line, and then I'll do something different on one side than the other. But this one, I decided to go symmetrical. I'm not not 100% sure that I love it, but I don't hate it. I know that there are people out in the world who love everything to be very symmetrical. So adding something like this to my repertoire is not a bad thing at all. And I've done some of these designs, like I said, on watercolor paper with colored pencil or gouache paint, but this is acrylic that I'm using today. Because instead of doing a bunch of shading, and I'll likely go back and do some shading on this, because it's big enough for me to do some shading, but some of the other pieces I've, like the painted rocks, I've done some shading on the painted rocks too, but yeah, forgot where I was going with that. Oh well. I know I've told you before, but for those of you who are just tuning in, I will work out ideas on the painted rocks and then I'll transition them over to a canvas panel and potentially canvas. I don't think I'll do this on canvas though, because, well, stretched canvas, because the line work is so detailed that I need a little bit more structure behind it. Yeah. And I know the line work looks gray, even though I told you it was black paint pen, and that's because I did a light wash of gesso over the top of it, because I am going to reapply the lines, the black lines, after I get the paint, the first layer of paint on, and probably maybe some shading if I decide to do it. I don't know if I'm going to do it yet or not. So I wanted to kind of knock back the darkness on these lines while I paint in the little spaces. And then when I go back over them with the paint pen, I can tidy everything up. And this brush I'm using is a different brush than I usually use, because the brushes I usually use are old, and I have used them for several things, several different types of media, and they just aren't holding their points like they used to. So it is their turn to be retired. So this is just I did some painting class type stuff, you know, one of those paint and pour kind of nights. Only it was at the pet shelters, so we didn't really pour anything. And this is one of my brushes from doing those. So it's not necessarily in the best shape ever, but it serves the purpose. Oh, I see Melissa is here. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. And I am going to use this color theme for the rest of the painting as well, because I like it. It's bright, it's happy. It makes me worry less about some things that are going on in the world. It does remind me of the sunsets around here. I live in Arizona, so we get some really brilliant colors in our sunsets. So it's all good. Just heard my husband come out of his room. So we'll see what he's up to if he comes out. Shouldn't call it a room. It's his office. He works from home, but a couple days a week, but he is off right now because he's had some health issues this week. So as you can see, I'm kind of flooding the area. I'm not really getting like brush strokey with things, but I am making sure I have a nice pad of paint. That's because I am going to put potentially some shading, but definitely some white work over the top of it to give it some pizzazz. Make it stand out, make it a little fancier. And yes, I did just dip my finger in that one. I will go back and touch that up when I rinse my brush. Not a big deal. Last night I already had to touch up the dark fuchsia on there. So I've always been drawn to geometric patterns. I know a lot of people are. I just think they're interesting, and for my brain, figuring them out and drawing them is really meditative for me. Sometimes it's a little frustrating, but most of the time it relaxes me. So and I don't necessarily worry about getting everything super precise. You know, everything I do is done by hand. I am not a machine, so sometimes the lines are a little wonky, or I mismeasure something a little bit, and that is fine. That's the way people deal with that as they create, is part of the artistry of the piece. You know, if it looks too good, something looks too good, then I always assume it's either digital or AI. There's nothing wrong with digital art made by an actual artist. I do have a problem with AI making art, though. Just chaps my hide. We don't make art. We humans don't make art for robots. We make it for other humans. Or for ourselves, sometimes. For our friends and family. For our collectors. For shows that we're in. For galleries. You know, there's a whole bunch of reasons to create art. To work through our feelings. To make our brains a little more stable. Art helps with all that. To kind of keep our youthful joy. Art does all of that. Go ahead and make noise out there. It's fine. My husband is getting his lunch, so if you hear the refrigerator closing or anything, that's all that's happening. If the dog smells what he's eating for lunch, she may go join him. She may not. We'll see. So my question to you today is, what do you look at art for? Do you look at it because it's beautiful or because it's not beautiful? Because it brings up emotions, calms your emotions, makes you angry. Some of it is supposed to make you angry. Or do you look at art because you're interested in the process, how it's made, how the artist thinks, what it makes you think, what it makes you feel? It's always interesting. Everybody has different answers. Is it something I haven't mentioned? Well, let me know. Pop it down in the comments. Fix my little yellow blob down there that I stuck my finger in. Yep, there she goes. The dog smelled Dad's lunch, so now she's going to go out and see if she can help him eat it. I don't know how long I'm going to be on doing this today. I hurt my back. Got some muscle issues happening. I moved wrong a month or so ago, and my muscles have decided to rebel. Luckily, it's not a pinched nerve, but I just need to pace myself. Stretch and take a Tylenol, sit on the heating pad. I do have arch support on this chair, which is nice. So sitting here does make my back feel better. The leaning forward thing is a little annoying at this point. That's okay. And because I'm not going to just leave the lines on here that are already here, I'm going to go back over them with the black paint pen. I'm not being super precise around the edges. It gives me a little wiggle room. I'm really liking playing with these geometrics because I just start with a grid and then I make a few marks in the center and then see where it takes me. And I also like to really kind of connect all the lines. So like I could take this line here and draw it all the way across, over, and up if I wanted to. So I make sure when I get the line back on after I paint in the colors that I can carry the line as far as I can. And as precisely as I can. Somehow I find that to be fun and relaxing. I know some people would think that would be a little bit aggravating, but I think of it as kind of a game. How far can I pull this line and still have it look good? And usually it's kind of within the arc of my pivot point in the center of my arm, how my shoulders work in that day, where I have my hand and arm resting on the table. How much stuff I have on my table at the time. I will put all my paints away before I do the black line on it, so that I know I can be as precise as I want. I will tell you that sometimes I get excited about halfway through the line because it's going so well, then I mess up a little bit. Oh. Then I can go back and just touch it up with some paint and go back over it once it's dry. That's the other thing I like doing about this kind of piece is, well, or any kind of art really, is most of the time, you know, it's just paint. If you can't wipe it off because, you know, the paint next to it is still wet or something, you just let it dry and paint over it. I am using acrylic on this, so that does help. Like watercolor paint, if you paint over it, it just gets darker and muddier. So watercolor, you do have to be a little bit more precise. Oh, and speaking of watercolors, I'm taking a class mid to the end-ish of next month up at the Arizona Artists Guild that I'm really excited about. Taking a workshop about watercolors. So we will see how that goes. But one of my AAG buddies, Melanie, is teaching it, and she is a brilliant artist, so I am really looking forward to taking this class and learning from her. I don't have I have a little bit of watercolor experience, and I tend to play around with it, but I don't really do anything super serious with it. But it's always nice to have that knowledge of the materials in your back pocket. You know, just in case there's something else that I'm going to do with it. On one of the little watercolor portraits I did at the end of last year, I did do kind of a mixed media piece. I used colored pencil for the shading, And I found that got a little bit too too heavy for what I wanted for those portraits, so I went back to just the watercolor, and that worked well. So I'm learning, I will be learning a new way to play with my paint. That'll be good. Speaking of portraits, I did go back and look at the portrait I did at Life Drawing, because I was like, yeah, it's okay. And then I looked at it again and I was like, well, it's more than okay. It's really quite good. So I may have to crop it and frame it and enter it into the Life Drawing show when that comes up, when that call for art comes up. I've always been interested in doing different kinds of art with different media. So paint, ceramics, different kinds of paint, watercolor, gouache, colored pencils, you know. I love the experimentation. And I love when my brain clicks with something. And then I just have to run with it for a while. I like learning new techniques too. I think that's part of being an artist. And that's why so many artists have different series of works. I have a lot of different series of works. You can see them all on my website, which is saholtstudios.com. It's easier to just scroll through my work there than it is on here. And you also get all the information there that you don't get here. So I can tell you all about my art here, but I can't give you, the price, that kind of thing. Price, size, dimensions. So all that information is on my website too. I don't post the story behind each piece of art over there. Because a lot of times I don't have a story for specific pieces of art. I do for others. And there are pieces that I look at and think, oh, here's the story for it, but the story doesn't resonate with you, and I want you to be able to look at my art and find the piece that resonates with you and that you connect with without having my thoughts in the way. If you see a piece that you really love and you don't have a story about it in your own head, then I'll be glad to tell you mine, but I know a lot of people who like my work are very creative themselves. And if you say, I know exactly what this piece means, then I would love to hear it. I love hearing what my art means to people who see it. It is one of the perks of the job as an artist. And there are things you see in my art that I don't. So it's always fun to hear what you see and what you think about my little creations or my big creations. Either way. I will tell you that I am not one of those artists who gatekeeps. Especially because a lot of my work is abstract. And a painting might mean one thing to me, but a different thing to you. And I am just happy that my work means something to you. That you find it meaningful. And worthy of your thought. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing and wonderful. If there's a piece of mine you've been looking at for a while, reach out and let me know. It'll make my day. Because a lot of times we artists work in a very solitary setting. So to have someone interact with us because they like what we do is the best part of the week. Including when it's my husband who's wandering through my studio and goes, "Ooh, this piece is pretty." Or a friend that comes over who hasn't seen what I've been doing in a while, or a collector that comes over. It's all good. I love the feedback. There are some artists out there who get a little shy about receiving feedback, but if I'm going to get better at something, I'll take it. I'll take that feedback. Whether I use it or not is going to be up to my brain. I go once a month to a private critique group up at the Arizona Artists Guild, and we show our new works and get feedback from our trusted group of artists. So it is good to have that. I always appreciate their feedback. We have artists that I'm kind of right in that middle age bracket. We have artists that are older than I am and have been making art since before I was born, like professionally. And then we have people who have graduated college in the last couple of years. I find their feedback to be really refreshing. And we have people that are really good technicians. So if something is amiss from a technical draftsman kind of point of view, they will let us know. And it makes my art better, so I appreciate their feedback. And we tend to talk in terms of stuff like line weight, color, texture, tint, tone, hue, shade. So we can get really technical with stuff. Sometimes we just get a piece of work that comes in and it's just wonderful the way it is, and yet the artist is fretting over something in the painting or the sculpture. So we get to either assuage their fears about the piece, or we get to help them. And they get to help us in return, and it's fantastic. So I'm coming from a place by saying, I love your feedback, I love your input, from a true place of I really do enjoy those conversations, because it brings something different and new to my brain that I haven't thought of yet. And it makes my art better pretty much every time. Okay. Well, on that note, I think I'm going to stop here. Move the camera. There I am. Okay, so I think that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for watching today here on Chaos and Order Art by Susan Holt. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and an artful weekend, and I will see you next Wednesday live again. I will talk to you later. Bye, everyone. As soon as the slow connection notification moves, I'll finish the video. There we go. Bye.